Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we will be discussing the enigmatic Battanian kingdom from Mount&Blade Bannerlord. This is the second video in my faction lore series for this game, and I invite you to check out the first one I did covering the Sturgians, as it is jammed full of interesting information just like this one. Basically, our goal for these videos is to learn everything there is about this faction, from their historical inspiration to their leader, in-game locations, and much more. So bear in mind, I will be drawing from various sources for the information in this video, including, but not limited to, the game, excerpts from Warband, the wiki, and of course, secondary historical sources. So let's dive on in and learn what the Battanians are all about. The Kingdom of Battania is a kingdom in Mount&Blade II, Bannerlord. It is ruled by King Caladog, and occupies heavily forested lands in the northwest of the continent of Calradia. So, let's learn a bit more about good King Caladog. King Caladog, Fen Grufendak, is the ruler of the Kingdom of Battania, and the leader of the Fen Grufendak clan. He is initially the lord of Marunath. Caladog is described as being a fun and humorous character, but can be harsh when it comes to war. Following the disappearance of his predecessor, King Errol, while hunting, Caladog led the Battanian tribes to war against the Calradic Empire in retaliation for the Empire's crimes against them. Caladog was responsible for the Battanian ambush that decimated the Imperial vanguard during the Battle of Pendraic. In the aftermath of the fighting, Caladog came to blows with Prince Reyvadin regarding the spoils of war, with Reyvadin labeling him a coward for taking the time to strip the dead. The official in-game description of Caladog is as follows. The current High King of Battania is Caladog, a brilliant war captain adopted by the prior king Utenhain, who then died in mysterious circumstances. Despite the doubts around his succession, Caladog has made himself popular among the lesser clans of the land who admire him. A man of no great lineage, for having discomfited the Battanians' traditional clan hierarchy. His clan is the Fen Grufendak, a formerly obscure family now swollen with his comrades in arms, with whom he has made marriage alliances. Caladog is at least partially inspired by, and now forgive how I butcher this pronunciation, Grufydd ap Llywelyn, who was the King of Wales from 1055 to 1063. I can't speak Welsh, and from what I have seen and heard, I doubt that name is meant to be pronounced the way it's written, at least in English. So if there are any Welsh speakers out there who would like to sound it out phonetically in the comments, I invite you to do so now. So now let's pop back to Battanian civilization and culture as a whole, now that we have the picture of their legendary leader. Battanian civilization consists of loosely organized clans, who originally populated most of the Calradian continent, but have been reduced into a small pocket of free territory after much of their land was conquered by the expansion of the Calradic Empire. The misty hills of northwestern Calradia are dominated by the Battanian clans, the original inhabitants of much of the continent. Their hilltop fortresses have borne witness to countless wars fought to resist outside invaders. First, the Empire's legions, and more recently, the rising Sturgian and Vlandian kingdoms. They are masters of the longbow, the night raid, the sudden wild charge out of the woods. They idolize valor, but especially like it when mixed with a bit of mischief. The cattle thief who can whisk an entire herd into the fog, the champion who dines with a rival tribe, and, regaling his hosts with an anecdote of battle, produces from his bag the skull of one of their kinsmen that he took as a souvenir. Battanian lords tell us that the previous High King of Battania, High King Errol, disappeared. So I feel that there is some level of intrigue there, that we may learn more about at a later date. Additionally, the encyclopedia tells us a bit more about Battania. We learn of the existence of an Old Battanian tongue in the page for Cantrek. We learn that the village is one of the southernmost regions in Calradia that still speaks the language, highlighting the great amount of territory lost by the Battanians in the past. Since Cantrek lies south of most of Battania, it is likely that most Battanians still speak the Battanian language. The official in-game description of Battanian culture goes as follows. From time immemorial, there has been a High King of Battania, crowned with a great ceremony on the sacred hills of Dunthanak. Ask any Battanian chieftain, however, whose kingdom he lives in, he will look around at his hall and in his fields and his pastures, his flock and his retainers, and answer, well, mine of course. Only lately, followed the example of the Empire, have the High Kings made any effort to exert their authority. Such unruly cattle as my people require a strong herdsman's hand to steer them from the ravine and protect them from the wolf, said one recent High King. just before he was betrayed by a jealous cousin and taken in chains to the nearest imperial outpost. Alright, so I think that paints a pretty good picture of their culture. Now let's move on to their military analysis and troop strengths and weaknesses. Specialties of the Battanian warrior culture include forest warfare, longbowmen, and two-handed swordsmen. On the overworld map, Battanian armies will suffer 10% less speed penalty from moving through forests. There are 4 major strengths when utilizing Battanian troops. Firstly, they have extremely powerful archers in their noble troop line, ending with the Battanian Fian Champion, which is arguably the ultimate best archer unit in the entire game. Their folksmen use powerful weapons with very long reach, making them effective against other polearms and mounted enemies. Most of their units carry varied equipment, including axes for dealing with shields, as well as throwing weapons, making them more versatile than many armies. Lastly, Battanian territory is highly condensed and relatively defensible. This makes the Battanian lands a very easy area to defend, and makes them a great faction to join early on if you don't plan to blitzkrieg the rest of the map instantly. They do, of course, however, have a few weaknesses which we should go over. Firstly, cavalry options are inferior in comparison to all other nations. They have a complete lack of heavy cavalry and horse archers, which makes sense culturally and geographically, but makes going up against armies that utilize a lot of cavalry, such as the Khuzaits or the Aserai, a dangerous pursuit. Also, outside of the noble troop tree, their archer options are rather limited, and their standard archer units are inferior to almost every other factions. Another weakness on the whole is that in general their troops are less well armored than their foreign counterparts, which is why they are certainly more effective when hiding behind trees or castle walls than in an open field where more heavily armored armies will wipe the floor with most Battanian troops. Lastly, despite having a contained and relatively easy territory to defend, they are surrounded on all sides by 4 other factions, consisting of the Sturgians, the Vlandians, the Western Empire, and the Northern Empire. This, unfortunately, more often than not, leads to multiple wars on multiple fronts. In summary, Battanian troops are highly specialized in infantry-focused combat. They might struggle to deal with opposing heavy cavalry combined with horse archers, but they are stronger against slower enemies fighting on foot. Protecting their fine champions is important for Battanian forces, since these elite archers are capable of wiping out entire parties of their own if given a chance, but can still become overwhelmed when surrounded by hostile cavalry. They should be covered especially well against fast-moving Aserai Mamluks, who can engage in close combat with a sword and shield if necessary, and other fast-moving cavalry with potential for close combat or throwing weapons. Since Battanian infantry possesses a variety of throwing weapons, they are able to launch mixed volleys of projectiles against advancing infantry or cavalry while protecting their vulnerable longbowmen. In addition to avoiding being peppered with thrown spears and axes, players who go up against Battanians should take care not to become exposed to their folksmen, who can easily reach out and take down a mounted rider with their long blades. Battanian horsemen should also not be underestimated, as although they are much weaker than cavalry of other nations, their long lances and powerful javelins can hit hard in ideal conditions. Well, that does it for a military assessment of this small kingdom. Now let's move on to their starting territory. They start with 5 cities: Carbanseth, Dunglanis, Maranath, Pencanak, and Sionan. They also start with 8 castles: Abcomer Castle, Aster Castle, Drumor Castle, Fintolg Castle, Lannichen Castle, Pendraic Castle, Remtoil Castle, and Utelheim Castle. In addition to this, they also control 33 small villages scattered throughout their forested mountains. In regards to their background and inspiration, they are recognizable yet vague. Not holding many similarities to any previous Warband faction, the Battanians are inspired by Celtic tribes throughout history. They are cunning, poetic, and not afraid to show a little flair, utilizing tattoos and war paint to scare their foes. However, the Battanians also have a nomadic warrior side, preferring the safety of the woods, living off the land, and stealing from anyone who crosses their path. Mischief runs through the Battanians' blood, specializing in the longbow and night raids. Battania fits any player who wants to rain down arrows from afar or slip into towns, stealing goods and cattle in the dead of night. Afterwards, the good Battanian will come back to town and drink a pint at the tavern, while writing songs about their accomplishments. By the time of Mount&Blade Warband, 200 years later, Battania ceases to exist as a united civilization, with all their territory conquered and the people reduced to living as forest bandits. The Battanian nation's position in comparison to Warband is in and around Reyvadin, Knudarr, and Radoghir Castles. So time for the quick lore roundup to smash home the overall message of these interesting people. The Battanians are based on different Celtic peoples, in particular from the early medieval times. Their settlements have been described as a mixture of medieval and ancient Celtic. Some Battanian infantry, like the Battanian folksmen, use falxes, which were historically used by the Dacians, but from a design that originated with the Sika, a blade of Celtic origin often wrongly credited to the Thracians. This would be plausible development in Celtic weapons. It appears that by the time of Warband, the Battanians have been completely wiped out or, more likely, conquered and assimilated by the Vlandians and Sturgians, who would mix with the locals, eventually creating the Swadian, Rhodic, and Radoghir cultures. It is possible that the Reyvadins inherited their good light infantry and excellent archers from the Battanians. So that is everything we need to know about the Battanians, and I feel that you should rightly know everything you need to truly appreciate these underrated underdogs. If you feel that I missed anything, even the smallest detail, I invite you to leave your thoughts down in the comments section. But that's all for today, so I hope you liked this video, but in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.